Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Mama Bear.
And he asked me if I was okay, and then he went to work, and at this point, I've been going to the church with him for a couple weeks, and I meet with the pastor because the pastor wants to know if I plan on getting saved and eventually getting baptized. And I tell him, like, I have a lot of anger over the way my life has gone, over the way I lost my dad. And so I meet with the pastor one day, and he answers all these questions like I want him to. He's opening up his Bible, he's going to different verses, and that's how he's answering my question. And it's great because when you talk to a pastor at like a different church, they're not going to take the time and sit there and do that. They're just going to tell you, well, you have to live like this, and if you don't live like this, it's going to be wrong, and you're going to go to hellfire brimstone. Southern
Yeah,
Baptist, they love that.
yeah.
And so I look at him and he's like, have I answered all your questions? And I'm like, you have. And he was like, well, how do you feel? And I'm like, I feel like I'm ready to turn my life over. I was like, because obviously what I'm doing is not working. I don't know what else to do, so I'm freaking out, and I'm like, I need to change my life somehow. And so right then and there, I said the prayer. I became saved. Now I'm very active in that church. I go every Sunday and every Wednesday to group. We had a corporate prayer night one day in November, and we're sitting there praying, and I put on the list, we're about to lose this hotel because the church spent over like $4,000 on us to stay in this hotel. And I'm supposed to go to this homeless shelter. Well, I go to the homeless shelter, and it's, oh my goodness, it's so bad. They have only a curtain that separates the men and the women from the family side. It was a construction site because they were upgrading it. So the beds they gave me were in a quarter right next to a barrier where there's construction. There's 20 dogs that are underneath this curtain. It's cold. I don't have a blanket for myself. I don't even have a jacket for myself. It's freezing. I'm scared to death. It's messing with my PTSD so bad because I know at any point there's nothing stopping someone from coming and hurting me and my kids if they wanted to. And my fiance got all my stuff out and was sitting here crying. And he was like, I'm going to work my butt off and I'm going to get you and the boys out of here. Well, he calls the people in the church and he's like, man, this situation's not good. He goes to work. I'm trying to adjust being in this place. And my children are young that I have with me. They're really young, so they don't really understand what's going on. And my oldest son, he's 3, he looks at me and he goes, Mommy, I want to go back to the hotel. And I'm like, baby, we can't go back to the hotel. This is where we're going to be at. And not 2 hours later, my fiance calls me after I FaceTime someone in the church, and they're like, show me what you're dealing with. I showed them. They called him. He calls me and says, I'm coming to get you. He said, I'm not leaving you there. So he comes and gets me. We go back to the hotel. And then we had this corporate prayer night at the church. I'm putting on this list, we're about to lose this hotel. I can't go back to the homeless shelter. It was messing with my PTSD too bad. And so the pastor prays for us, everyone prays for us. And the next day I get a phone call from a church friend and says, hey, sorry, this is still really emotional for me. It says, hey, we have a house for you. Our discipleship pastor had an uncle who's a private landlord who had a house that was empty and said he would love to rent it to you guys.
Wow.
They found this out 30 minutes after they prayed for us in this prayer meeting. And they called me the next day, and I come out of the bathroom crying my eyes out. My fiance's like, what's going on? And he goes, I'm like, you need to call this person. And he calls them, and all of a sudden I just hear him going, are you serious? And they're like, yeah, we found a house for you. It's empty. Y'all can move in on Monday because this is a Thursday that we find out about this. On Saturday, we go look at the house and we meet the landlord. And they're like, we're really inspired that you all have turned your life over to Christ. They knew about my situation with me being a felon. And they're like, we just want to help you guys get back on your feet. And so November 18th, we moved into this house. Now,
Wow. It's incredible.
while we're in the hotel, I'm still talking to Hunter. I literally get in this. house, our phone bill was super expensive. So he's like, give me your phone. I'm going to take it to this place and exchange it for a new phone for you so our phone bill will go down. And as he has my phone, because I've got Hunter's chirp number blocked so that he can't text me until I unblock it, and I've got it on mute if he does text. And I'm sitting there, and his baby mama sends a text message, hey, don't text him back. I'm messing with him pretending it's you on a different texting app. And my fiance sees this message because he had no idea I was still talking to him. And he comes back and he opens the door and he's like, I know. And I'm like, what do you know? And he's like showing me all these text messages that the baby mama has sent David because she felt bad that I was doing this to him still. And I had tried to stop talking to him multiple times in this, and something just kept taking me back. And she even sent him text messages with a conversation between me and him where he's willing to do things sexually with another man to keep me and him together.
The dude Hunter, right?
Yes. Yes.
Didn't he ask you to explain some details about what you and your fiance were doing?
Yes. He loved to hear details about any time me and him were sexual. He even made a joke in the other facility that he was in because he knew how big his manhood was. And so he said, I might not be able to give you, however many he has, but I can give you 5 twice.
And he wanted
And
details about like what this all kinds of weird shit.
he wanted details about the positions we were doing, if he was rough with me like I like it, if I screamed, if I, did oral on him a certain way. Like he wanted to know details and he wanted sloppy details, and that's how he would get himself rocked off.
Your fiance finds out. What happens next?
He asked me, he said, why are you doing this? I'm working my butt off to provide for you and the boys. I'm trying to build our life back up. He was like, do you even want that? And at this point, I didn't want Hunter. I hadn't wanted Hunter for a while. I just don't know why I couldn't stop talking to him. And so he was like, well, this is what we're going to do. We had a conversation. He said, we're going to have an open phone policy, but with both of us, because I expressed my concerns because I was like, I know you've changed a lot since we were split up. I said, but I'm scared that you're going to go back to your old ways. So he was like, okay, we're going to have an open phone policy. I can look in your phone at any time without telling you, and you just give it to me straight away without any explanation or anything. You do the same thing for me. He was like, but I want you to block anyone that is in communication with Hunter. So I blocked the baby mama. I had his mom blocked for a while. And so we go, and I didn't unblock Hunter, so he was still blocked. So we go and get the new phones, and I just completely changed my phone number. And to this day, he still doesn't know my new phone number, and I deleted the accounts on the texting apps. So he has no way to get a hold of me. He doesn't even know where I live.
So you cut all ties right that day.
I did because I knew that the relationship I was trying to have with my fiance, because we were talking about having like a very good Christian marriage, and we want to be holy and faithful to each other and to God, and I knew that that was the better situation that I needed to be in instead of still messing with Hunter.
So now, how is your relationship today?
It's really good today. We go to church together. We're working on where he works so many hours still. We're working on praying together. We're writing our testimonies to eventually be baptized in this church, and we're doing really good. We have open communication. He's looked at my phone a couple of times. Like I'll be in another room or something. He'll come in and I'll exit my phone because I'm like, okay, you're in here. I don't need my phone right now. And so he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, here, I'll show you. And he was like, okay, thank you. And I've even picked up his phone a couple of times and I've went through it. and I haven't found anything. And so he's really convicted to not mess up. And he was like, I want to keep our family together. I love you. I want to marry you next year. And I'm like, okay, we just need to work on some stuff. I know you have some trust issues with me, and I still have trust issues with you.
So what made you want to go on TikTok and tell your story?
Um, I was watching this creator who does videos yelling at prison wives. I don't know if you've seen him or not. It's like J King Enterprise.
No.
So he makes videos yelling at prison wives like, hey, you're not the only one. He's going to use you for this and this and this, like trying to bring awareness to how inmates and convicts act because he served 8 years in prison in Texas. And so I started commenting on his stuff. And he messaged me one day and he was like, man, do you want me to expose your dude to see if he's talking to someone else? And I'm like, man, I already know he's talking to someone else. He's done nothing for me but to give me a felony and a broken heart. And he was like, maybe you should tell your story. And so I'm sitting here and I think about it for a week. And I don't know if it was God telling me that I needed to share my story to keep from someone else going down the path, but I just had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to share my story. And when I started posting, I had no idea that my posts would blow up as much as they have. Like I have 2 posts that have 1.1 million views on it. I went from 400 followers to like 53,000 followers. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get a lot of hate, but I get a lot of support too from people who understand. I get messages from people, hey, I've been in the same situation. I want you to know it's not your fault. Like, if you need someone to talk to, I'm here. And I look at my fiance one day and I'm like, I'm about to have a viral video on TikTok. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I made a video, put a finger down, the put a finger down challenge. And I vaguely described my situation. Everyone's like, story time, story time, story time. And it took me a couple of days to have the courage to post it. I literally spent an hour and a half recording and re-recording part one. And
Yeah, you
everyone's talking
record it,
about,
erase it, right? You record it, erase it, you
yeah.
like keep doing it over.
And everyone's like, well, why are you so cold? Why do you have no emotion? And I'm literally sitting there saying, y'all, you don't know how many times I record and delete what I'm recording. So things are going to get monotone after a while. If I'm doing this for like an hour or so and I have to stop because my kids need something or I'm trying to get my kids to sleep and I'm trying to record a little bit at a time, like that's what people don't understand. And then people are getting mad at me because the story is taking a while. Okay, it's a year-long story. You don't want me to come on here and be like, well, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. It'd be 2 videos.
The end.
And I'm like, y'all, I even said this on my live one day. I said, y'all gonna get mad at me if I come on and I abbreviate the story. I said, y'all get mad at me when I come on and I tell you everything that's going on in the story, like the background, like the outside influences, trying to give you a glimpse into my mental state. And y'all are like, why does this matter? And why does this matter? And I'm sitting here like, because I'm literally trying to show y'all what mental state I was in that could lead me to fall for these tricks. And people are still mad at me over it.
Yeah, don't worry about the criticism. They're gonna criticize you regardless. You just gotta do your thing. Don't
I
worry about
am
what people
like,
say.
I knew that I was going to get hate because it's such a taboo subject to talk about. And what people don't realize is that it happens a lot more than what people think. I mean, you have the Casey White documentary that came out where she helped him escape and now she lost her life for it. Like, you have all these documentaries and stuff where it happens. You see news articles all the time where it happens. I even think a few years ago in Georgia, an inmate got like 4 different women pregnant, like COs.
I've when I was in prison, one of my friends was involved with a CO. I knew about
Like,
their
like
relationship. Everybody knew about it.
it happens, but people don't want to admit that it happens. But most of the time, it is like male COs and female inmates. But at the same time, you still have a lot more coming out where it's a female CO and a male inmate. Like the first day that I worked in the facility, they'd walk someone out because a female inmate said, hey, he came in the shower when I was in there and his fingers inside me, but he didn't get charged because that inmate was labeled a problem child, so they didn't believe her.
That's crazy. It's probably
It
true.
probably was. And then
Yeah.
people at the facility years ago, there's been multiple people who have gotten caught in that same facility and have served time for it. Like, it's crazy because a male inmate took a female to the hospital, even though I don't know why, because you're not supposed to do that if you're male and female. It's supposed to be male on male and female on female.
Yeah.
And they stop on the side of the road and she's giving them oral. Like, it happens. People have died in that jail from drug overdoses. Like, the first day I started, I watched 2 people OD in a detox cell.
I believe it.
And I had to call EMS, and this is my first day on the floor, and I don't know how I'm going to handle this. I'm literally watching as the nurse comes in. They Narcan one dude like 14 different times. Like, what they don't realize is that facility has a lot of problems of its own. You have officers there that are bragging, hey, I beat the crap out of this inmate. Now he's a model inmate. If I hadn't have done that, he wouldn't be so good.
So what would you do if Hunter tried to reach out to you in the future?
Immediately block. I would probably change my number again. If he tried to keep contacting me, I'd call the police and be like, hey, this is what's going on, because it's a condition of my probation. I have to have permission from my officer to talk to anyone that's locked up in a facility or a rehab facility or like a halfway house. I have to have permission. And she told me, she said, I'm not giving you this permission. And I'm like, good, because I don't want it. Because I don't want to violate. I don't want to actually have to serve time.
No, you don't. You definitely don't want to serve time being an ex-correction officer. It
Because I'd
won't
be in
end
PC
well.
the entire time in a cell by myself.
Yeah.
And that's not a way to live, because I've seen how it mentally tears people apart when they're in seg for months at a time. I've seen it firsthand.
Now, are you in contact with his baby's mama, and do you forgive her?
I do forgive her because, okay, yes, when it first happened, I was super upset with her and super mad that she did that, because it was like, this is mine and his relationship. She has no business talking about it. But as I became friends with her and talked to her and learned the actual truth about their relationship, I realized she was just trying to help me not go down the same path as she went with him. Because he literally tried her and their unborn child 2 different times by wrecking their car. Like, he set their house on fire. Like, he cheated on her multiple times, gave her a STD. Like, and he got locked up in November of 2022, and she gave birth by herself with her mom.
He
She
was in
went to her.
prison.
Yeah, he was locked up from his first case because of the police chase. And so we've been friends, I had her blocked when I decided to put my story out, and then I seen that she was commenting on someone who made a bash video about me. And so I unblocked her, and I'm like, hey, can you not put any of my personal information out here? Because she put my actual first name in these comments. And I'm like, I know you know about the videos. Can you please just not do that? And she was like, well, I don't remember doing that. And I sent her the screenshot, and I was like, look, it's right here. And I was like, I'm not using real names. I'm not using names of the facility or anything, just to keep myself safe. And she decided to try to tell her story. But I think it was it part 7 that I found out who snitched?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I warned her before I posted this video. I said, people are going to turn on you. I'm letting you know now, this is about to be posted. And she was like, thank you, I appreciate that. And what happened? The video comes out and they all turn on her. And so she was going to tell her story with Hunter, but she got so much hate that she deleted everything off her TikTok. And she said, I'm just not going to waste my time because y'all are assuming everything. And she has a worse temper than I do. And I don't care about the hate. I expect it. I know, former law enforcement officers, current and former correctional officers are going to come there and they're going to see my post and they're going to get mad. The hate doesn't bother me. I expected it. But I don't think she expected everyone to turn on her the way they did.
It's a wild story. It really is. What are you going to do
Yeah.
with TikTok going away in a month?
People have asked me that when I go live. They ask me if I have Facebook or YouTube or anything, and I'm thinking about either making a YouTube account or an IG account with like just because I have some other stories I want to tell, like some crazy things that I've seen in the facility, and just kind of I don't want to say like expose how crappy the facility is, but kind of just bring awareness to it. And I literally just want to use my platform to show someone, hey, you can recover from being a felon. Like it's gonna ruin your life and it's gonna take time, but you're not a bad person. Don't care what people say about you. Like everyone's going to have an opinion about you. I just want to hopefully for someone to see it that may be in the same situation as me, that they can be smarter about it and not go down the path I went down.
It's great advice. And look how far you came in such a short amount of time. I mean, now you got a place to live. Your holidays are going to be a little more better than it was, right? A little bit better than it was, not more better, but a little
Yeah.
better than it was. You're not going to be in a
Yeah.
homeless shelter or a hotel. You got a home now.
Yeah, my church family has been really great. It's by the grace of God that I'm doing so well now. Ever since I turned my life over, literally, it's completely done a 360. I have a lot of meaningful relationships with people in my group and people in my church and the pastors. Like when we got our apartment, our house, we didn't have anything. Literally everything that we got furniture wise in this house came from my church family. We've gotten a couch, a love seat, beds. We're only missing a few other things, like we need a TV stand, we need a kitchen table and stuff. But the majority of the stuff we have, because people in my church family are like, okay, we want to help you, we want to serve God to serve you guys. So here's all these things. And
It's
I'm
great.
just blown away.
It's an incredible story, and I thank you so much for sharing it. You want to tell people where they could find you at?
For right now, until TikTok gets banned next month, I am on TikTok. My username is Mama Bear 022029. If anyone wants to share their story with me, I have an email account. It's mamabear022029 at gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from anybody who wants advice, and I really just want to thank everybody for their support. And, thanks to my haters too, because y'all hate on me, but guess what? Y'all keep coming back and watching my videos.
Well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time. It's been an incredible story, and people are going to like this one.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Definitely. If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, too bad, start your own podcast. Peace.